I said, how on earth did they name this the friendly city? They've got it wrong. No friendly city. This is a city of hate.
That there was a clip from the History Makers interview with Evangeline Hall. It's part of the nation's largest African-American video oral history archive. And History Makers' big announcement making headlines. The Library of Congress is going to be permanently placing these recordings in a vault for all of the oral history captured on camera, preserving really forever first-hand accounts of African-American history.
Joining us this morning on the phone is the founder and executive director of the History Makers, Ms. Juliana Richardson. Ms. Richardson, thank you for joining us this morning. You know, such an important announcement, really, for the preservation of African-American history. So what really went into collecting all of this oral history?
Well, it's been a lot of work, and good morning, Greg and Kelly. We've been working on this for 14 years. We started doing our first interview in February of 2000, and so far we've done 2,600 interviews in over 380 cities and towns, and even traveled to places like Norway and Mexico to do interviews of expats.
You mentioned 2,600 interviews, 14 hours captured on tape, and there's some Tallahassee connections here as well. I know you guys, I believe, interviewed former FAMU band director Julian White. Tell us a little bit about the North Florida connection to this project.
Yes, well, I want to say it's 9,000 hours of testimony on tape, and we have several very significant people, some who've passed away since the time of interview, that have been involved in the recordation. So North Florida is well documented. We have Naeem Akbar, who is a black, known as a black psychologist out of FAMU. We have Freddie Brown, who is a museum executive, and Augusta Colson, who was also the publisher of Church Times. We have the deceased James Eaton, who is still very remembered there and was head of the Black Archives and that are still in existence. We have, you mentioned, there's also William Foster, who was the leader of the Marching 100 band at FAMU that's very well known. We have Judge Leander Shaw, who was well known in the Tallahassee area. The list sort of goes on and on. There, it was very important that we get different regions of the country, and the fact is that the African American history in North Florida is a very, very important history for this nation.
Quite a bit of diversity in the project here. I want to ask you, you know, for generations to come, this is certainly going to be available to them. What kind of impact do you see this project having in sharing some of these important lessons with the generations to come?
The only recording or massive attempt to record the black experience until we got started was the slave narrative. And between years of 1936 and 38, there were 2,300 former slaves interviewed. But there had been no recording of 20th and as we move forward 21st century history. So this is, I mean, if you don't record it, a lot of times it doesn't exist. And this means that this history will be able for people to touch and see. And because it's on video, you can see the twinkling in someone's eye. You can see their thought process. You know, you can see the reflection. And you can actually see what they look like. You don't have to imagine that. So they're always there, preserved really for eternity. The other thing that's important is you don't work on a project like this and don't do it right. And the Library of Congress is doing it right. And I have mentioned the slave narrative. Now both the slave narrative and this collection are all under one roof. It's stories of the enslaved and the stories of their descendants now under one roof.
All right, Ms. Richardson, thank you so much. A very important project, 14 years in the making, and we're going to put all the details of how you can help be a part of it and see it for yourself up on our website, WTXL.TV. Stick with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes.